So as we talked about in the last video, Donald Trump is threatening 100% tariffs on China. And yes, it's 100%, you heard me correct. And in fact, it's 100% additional tariffs. So it's even going to be more than 100% depending on the product category. We've now got a response from China. These are the headlines from Bloomberg. China tells U.S., right, that would be Trump, tells U.S. to back off on tariff threats, urges more talks. Here's another quote here. Threatening with high tariffs at every turn is not the right way to get along with China, assuming that we want to get along, but that's what they're saying. If you want to get along with us, don't threaten high tariffs. China urges the U.S. to correct its wrong practices as soon as possible. And it's not just the tariffs that Trump needs to correct, right? He's got a lot of wrong practices. And in fact, I guess if you look at his whole administration, it's a wrong practice. But that's sort of how China's addressing this. Then the other headline from Financial Times would be China blames Trump and U.S. for escalating the trade war. And they're not wrong. Basically, Trump is just going on and on and on about, I'm going to punish China by taxing Americans more. And no, seriously, it ends up being that. And what's crazy about this stuff, if you look at Fox News and, you know, people in right-wing media space, they're always like, oh, yeah, put more tariffs on Trump. Let's show them. I want to pay Trump more taxes, right? Because they don't really understand how tariffs work. And I'm telling you guys, at the end of the day, you're going to end up paying more. That means you, the Americans. And what else is crazy, too, is you're probably going to lose access to a lot of goods that either you want or need, or that your companies want or need, as a lot of things are made in China that USA uses. This is some more response from China. They say, China's position on tariff wars has been consistent, okay? We do not want to fight, but we are not afraid to fight. And they got some great quotes here. I think Trump needs to up his Twitter game. Whenever you read Trump stuff, you guys know how it sounds. It's like all caps. It sounds like some, 13-year-old kid or whatever. And then when you read the Chinese stuff, it just, you can see it for yourself, right? We do not want to fight, but we are not afraid to fight. On Friday, the U.S. president, that'd be Trump, said that he would impose, quote, large-scale export controls on virtually every product they make, which is like a lot of things, right? Including, quote, all critical software alongside new tariffs. He added that the new measures would be imposed on or before November 1st. So the way Trump thinks, it's like in 2 weeks, he's essentially making a TV show. That's what Trump is all about, right? And every week or every day, really, you got to have a cliffhanger. And so now we're going to be building up anticipation to November 1st. Oh my God, what's he going to do, right? And the drama right now is, are we talking to Xi? Are we not talking to Xi? Is Trump going to go to Korea to meet Xi? And in fact, I'm here in Korea. It's called APEC. There's a big economic thing. A lot of countries' leaders are coming. Usually how this game is played is if you're a respectable leader, you say you're going to come or not come, and then your staff can start making the preparations, right? It's a fundamental thing. In Trump's case, he'll decide, a couple hours before, and then suddenly everyone has to scramble either one way or the other. And it's no way to run a country. I think you guys already know this. It's laughable. It's sad. It's embarrassing. Sometimes I just be honest, I feel like, cry. Other times I just feel like I don't even want to look at what Trump said. Sometimes I'm just like, is this even reality? And I pinch myself wondering if I can, wake up and I found out this was all the dream. Unfortunately, at the moment, we're still stuck in this timeline. And it's crazy because I know a lot of you people feel the same way that I feel. It's like, what kind of world is it where we're rooting for China to beat Trump? It's just like, it's nuts. It's absolutely insane. And I'm American. I actually want USA to do quite well, but I don't want Trump to, just bully everyone around, arrest whoever that he wants. And you're in this like awkward position, like who's going to stand up for Trump? And I think that's the thing that we're all frustrated the most is, how can Trump get away with like illegal action after illegal action after illegal action? It just keeps piling up. So China's pretty strong. I mean, you guys know this, and this is what they're saying. They're saying here, this is a different way to translate it. Threatening to impose high tariffs at every turn is not the right way to engage with China. It's another way to think about it. Should the U.S. persist in its course, China will resolutely take corresponding measures to safeguard its legitimate rights and interests. And one of the things that China was complaining about is USA is, supposedly in good faith talks with China, and while they're literally in talks, Trump keeps tweeting out nonsense, threatening him. So it makes it hard to do business with someone like, just think of it this way. If you're in a war, for example, you would call a ceasefire, right? A truce, a couple of weeks, and you're not going to do any shooting or anything like that, and you're going to try to work something out. Opposed to, hey, I call peace talks, and then while we're at the table talking peace, I'm going to start shooting. I mean, it's just, you can't do business with someone like that. These are some comments actually from Korea. I think you'll find them interesting because Koreans have a different point of view than you may not necessarily hear before, in the USA. And this is from Korean. It says, I wonder how things will change tomorrow. The U.S. president's words are too light. The world has reached a point where it no longer trusts Trump's threats. And it's funny because they mentioned tomorrow because, it changes day to day. Here's another person. It seems like the America and China we knew have been reversed, which is a really interesting point, right? So before, USA would be the more trustworthy. China, you can't really trust them. And I guess now we're reversed. Another one says, at this rate, the U.S. will be unable to wage a tariff war with China and will only end up sucking the blood of its allies. And you remember from the Korean point of view, right? That's sort of how they feel. They feel like they've been betrayed by Trump, and they're saying, Trump can't win the trade wars with China, so you're kind of screwed there, and now you're just going to suck the blood of allies in say Korea or Japan or otherwise. There's another one. Another Korean says, I hope this incident becomes an opportunity for Korea to grow to the next level. And I know many Koreans are thinking this way. I know many Canadians are thinking this way. Many countries around the world are thinking, hey, if the USA is going to go alone and start destroying, all their relationships, there's opportunity there, right? If Korea's like, hey, we're open for business, come build factories in Canada, right? And I'm sure Australia, New Zealand, lots of countries are thinking this way. Here's some more. I'm getting comments from Korea. I have a feeling China will win again because China is more strategic, and the U.S. is just doing whatever it wants, depending on Trump's mood. And it's a reality, right? Trump tweets out whatever. Like, there's so many things that are going on all the time. Every time I check this, it's like I didn't even know this was a possibility, right? Because normally in these situations, the whole thing would be illegal. And at the moment, we're waiting for the Supreme Court to make a decision whether or not Trump's tariffs are legal. If so, they're gonna have this big fight over the refund money. That's going to be absolutely nuts. And I think you probably get the feeling that I get is that maybe companies will get the refund, and I do not think they're going to pass it on to customers. Now, every individual company is going to be different, so you may hear announcements here and there, but just kind of my inner voice is saying, no, I don't think you're going to see that money again. That's just my opinion on that one, but you never know. Here's another one. China has seized the pretext and the initiative. Okay. Here's another comment. Don't just talk, you have to act. Are you a gangster country that rips off nuclear-free country? And in fact, that's a good point here. Korea's actually been considering developing its nuclear weapons programs more. If the USA is not going to be a reliable partner, why not take your self-defense in your own hands and start kicking out American bases, these kind of things, and to become nuclear power? Here's another one. I don't think the U.S. can win. China has been preparing since Trump's first term, and the U.S. is just recklessly lashing out. How can they possibly win, right? How can Trump and USA win? Moreover, the entire world is uniting except for the U.S. The U.S.'s power will further weaken. Another comment from Korea. China is doing well. I hope they respond with tariffs that are better than Trump's. The whole world is suffering because of that crazy Trump. And another comment. I hate China, but I really hate America these days. And people's, this is funny, but that is actually a pretty common sentiment. There's always spats, and if you don't know about here in East Asia, there's spats between countries because of the intense competition, and unfortunately, USA is sort of, how can I say, ruining the relationships with countries, be it Korea and Japan, who are staunch allies for years. So that is a big mistake. I know we laugh about, but I want you just to see their reactions. Here's another person from Korea. Our country, which lives on exports in this war, nerves on thin ice. Only balanced diplomacy can save us. It's a blessing that Lee Jae-myung is president. So that's referring to the current president of Korea. Talking about USA, which is different than, say, here in Korea. The layoffs just keep mounting. They were threatening to fire federal workers, and now more numbers are coming in. I didn't know it was this many. I saw it before that they laid off much of it as CDC, but now they're saying more than 1,000 CDC staff received layoff notices during the government shutdown. Just think about that. It's crazy, and you'll get this message like this. This is, I guess, an email, and it'll say, "I regret to inform you that you are being affected by a reduction in force." RIF action. Please find an attached notice memorandum explaining the RIF and next steps. This RIF action does not reflect directly on your service, performance, or conduct. It is being taken solely for the reasons stated in the memorandum, which basically means Trump doesn't like workers, wants to fire everyone. And I mean, this. I honestly, I can't make jokes about this kind of stuff. It's not cool. Just imagine this. I mean, you just lose your job, right? And this is a time when jobs are tight, seriously, like it's so bad that the government won't even release numbers because the government is shut down. And the last time the numbers, came out, Trump got really mad, fired said person. I think the job situation is really ugly, to be frank. And so to get this kind of, message, and people have any sort of situations that they're in, I mean, you guys know this, like if you expect your stable income, and this is stuff that really bothers. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that bothers me about Trump, but I'll say is like really disrupting someone's life in this way is a really awful thing to do, and I'll just leave it at that. Another email, the Lester email says, after you receive this notice, you will be placed on administrative leave and will no longer have building access beginning Friday, October 10th. So, okay, already then, unless directed otherwise by your leadership. Additionally, please save this email and its attachments or forward them to a personal email address for your records. Oh, God. Leadership at HHS appreciate your service. So when you read this, it's like you're locked out of the building. So let's say you left something in the building. Chances are that's gone, at least for the time being. Make sure you keep a copy of the email because they may, remove your access there, and then you can't even respond or, email your boss that easily. It's like that's how Trump treats people. Elon Musk did the same thing. And unfortunately, this is affecting a lot of departments. You can see here, commerce, energy, education, health and human services, housing and urban development, homeland security, treasury. And then you also have this. I didn't know this was going on, but this is in Washington, D.C. It says signs popping up around D.C. note, ICE kidnapping happened here. And people are sort of moralizing, like sort of reminding people of what's going on. There is so much that ICE is doing. I can't show you all the videos all the time, but it's something new every day, something egregious. And so now we're keeping record of, right? ICE abducted someone here, or another sign here. Angel H was taken by ICE on August 25th here at 8:30 a.m. while walking to work. They'll put it, never forget, and they'll put it out, in the location that someone was effectively kidnapped. And so right now we're in a situation to where I think the more and more people that Trump hurts, the more that he will lose his base entirely, because you can't expect to fire everyone, raise taxes on everyone, right? So you got no money, things cost more, and then just completely just tweet out nonsense nonstop. And people will start to figure out that this guy is absolutely Looney Tunes. I mean, if you're watching the channel, you probably know this stuff. But unfortunately, there's still MAGA people out there who don't. And essentially, we need to just keep telling the truth every day. So I do appreciate your time, everyone. Please be careful out there. And I'll catch you on the next video.